Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We love having you here, and it's our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest tips, skills, and know-how to make you the best that you can be. We know that you have it in you, and we're going to show you how. Now, let's get started.
This episode is powered by Poddex.
Thank you for tuning in today. You are now listening to That Will Never Work podcast with your host, Maurice Chisholm. Hey everyone, how are you doing today? You know, last episode we had talked about taking time out for yourself, right? And finding out what you love, what you like to do. You know, sometimes you need to do that. You need to take that time to step back and reevaluate where you've been and what you're doing currently to where you're trying to get to. Today, I just want to talk to you a little bit about, as I was taking my time out for personally, I had gone through some old records. We were doing some cleaning out. We are trying to renovate our house like other responsible adults. Not saying if you're an adult and you're not doing that, but you know, and I said that because that's one of the jokes that I have with one of my neighbors, that we're trying to be responsible adults and take care of our property and things like that. So in the midst of doing this clean out, I had come across some old awards I had gotten in the first grade. Now, if you notice, I said first because, you know, back then you couldn't pronounce all the letters. So first grade. And in these two awards, one of them was for scholarship from my actual first grade teacher. The second one was for musicianship. And it said I was for great musical achievement or something along those lines. I posted it on my social media. And I'm going to tell you that when I looked at that and the feeling I had trying to, remember who my first grade teacher was, I can't remember her face to save my life, to be honest. I remember vaguely, but it is not very clear. And I do believe that she's no longer with us among the living. But I appreciate the level of confidence that she had given me or presented to me at that time. I remember getting that award for scholarship and feeling achieved or recognized in a place where I was not comfortable in being. And here's the reason why I say that. I personally never attended Get Set or kindergarten, for those that remember Get Set. But I never attended Get Set or kindergarten. My first school experience was the first grade. And for me to be able to have that experience, go through it, feeling awkward, being around other kids on an everyday basis, because unfortunately my two other examples of kids being around were, one, my brother who's 2 years younger, and then I had a cousin who was 2 years younger. So, you know, I was around them enough. The other examples were me going to church on Sundays. So I was around other, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, I guess, but on a very limited level. But to be with these kids every day and feeling out of sorts, if you will, having this sense of I don't belong, being the new kid on the block, because some of them did have kindergarten together. So some of them had already created friendships. Some of them also lived on the same block or neighborhood, and they were closer together, and their parents were closer. And that feeling of not being able to fit in was very high. I remember that because I always felt awkward. And my friends that I was with, or people that I had gravitated towards, they were also in a very awkward situation. And I had to think about this actually a few times in my life, to be honest. When you apply to school and you say, hey, what have you learned? How have you gotten over a crazy situation? How have you handled some places and spaces where you didn't feel right or whatever else? And in this moment of getting this award, being recognized by my teacher for scholarship, and I believe it was like one other person that had it, I believe, or two other persons. It wasn't very many. I felt achieved and honored to get that award in a space where I felt awkward. I felt achieved. I felt happiness. Now, yes, I'm saying all these words, not knowing what it meant back at that time. I didn't know what achieved meant. I just knew I was happy. I was happy that I was getting an award because, most people, you want to get an award and show it off to your parents like, hey, I'm doing good. I'm great. Da, 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 da. But later on in life, you're like, wow, I did some wonderful things, and understanding that I was able to get my work done and have some type of enthusiasm, achieve well in tests and things like that, for me to get this type of award on very little exposure to the schooling process prior to. I adapted rather well. Now, my aunts and uncles who are only the age group or the space, I should say, between my mother, who is the eldest child of her siblings, and her youngest her youngest brother, which is like 14 years. So mind you, by the time I'm in elementary school, first grade being 6 years old, for me, the age difference between he and I is like 9 years. So he's like 14, 15. He's like 15 years old. So he's still in school, high school at that. So he was around and he was able to help me grow. My aunt, who is not quite 20 years older than me, again, someone else who was in school who was able to help me with school work, right? And create that place of achievement or acknowledgement of work, putting in that work ethic, wanting to do great in school. And my grandmother pushed us a lot, saying, hey, you can't settle for less. So, I'm asking each and every one of you out there, how do you feel, or when was the first time you felt great about yourself and you have continued that practice on until today? This award right here show where my thoughts were at a very early age and how I encouraged myself by getting good grades, how I encouraged myself by getting good reviews, how I encouraged myself by being able to have some type of outward acknowledgement of the things that I've done. So getting the award, yes, there's only one person that's really acknowledging it, being a teacher. But someone showing us like, Maurice, you did a great job. Here is, just an acknowledgement. I can't turn this award for any money, right? It's not changing my status to move up in my company. And sometimes acknowledgments does not always equal that. Sometimes acknowledgments is just a small little gesture to say you are on the right track. that someone is paying attention to you. You're doing a good job. Keep at it. Don't stop. Keep up the momentum. That's all that any of us really want, is that acknowledgement. So I hope today you can look back over your life and find that one thing that motivated you and that can reignite that fire that was within you at one point in time. Because sometimes, especially what's going on in society, we just need that one thing to get us back on track. And this award right here is not getting me back on track, but it is helping to reignite that fire and make it burn brighter and higher than it was before. Because that was the first time I felt like I was acknowledged for my work. And I kept that idea moving forward. So it was the base, and I was able to build upon it. So I thank you very much for listening today. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to That Will Never Work podcast. Peace.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.